Talks. What is really happening within NASA? Is it a house waiting to crumble as far as this is concerned? What public position should this opposition leader and his deputy Kalonzo hold if talks between them and President Kenyatta takes off? No one seems to know, as reason has been allowed by a cloud of mistrust between NASA and Jubilee diplomats. Meanwhile, wants you to decide what roles the two should assume. That is, of course, on page 4 and 5 of the Daily Nation today. Miguna, maybe we can begin with you because also the Star has something that it says Wanjigi and Miguna are pushing Raila to take January the 30th off.
So, first of all, Debal, the headline in the Nation is itself a puzzle. It says, puzzle of Raila Roll derails unity talk. So what is the puzzle of Raila Roll? Then secondly, derails. Derails what? There are no unity talks. And what are unity talks? Unity talks by whom? Between whom? You see, so that is a problem. And it blames Raila for something he has not done. When it says Raila Roll derails, it means Raila and his role has caused something not to happen. And it is not true. The legitimate president of Jubilee has said he does not want talks. And his deputy has said the same thing. The only role someone like me wants for Raila Odinga is to be the president of the Republic of Kenya because he won the election on August 8th. So that cannot derail talks because we simply want victory that was denied him. What the Standard is saying also is very different. I don't know if you have a copy of the Standard as well. I do have a Standard. Yes, the Standard says NASA ready for talks with Jubilee, but on set terms. So I don't know what you are reporting because my information is that there were no talks yesterday between anybody. And I've not seen pictures of the press capturing the so-called NASA principals entering a meeting or leaving a meeting. I've not seen it. And I've not seen them quoted at the meeting or after the meeting. So I take this as speculative because two national newspapers with reporters who some of them are embedded in the NASA coalition cannot be reporting two diametrically opposite things and the same story be true. Then you dragged my name into the headline of the Star. The Star never called me. They never interviewed me. They have not quoted me. They have even reported things that are factually incorrect. They said I actually contested the Nyandu seat in 2007. I never did. I attempted the nomination. That's not contesting elections. The first time I contested elections was 2017.
Okay.
If you seek nomination for a political party, please let me say this. Okay. There were people who wanted to run for president in 2017. They never vied. You don't say those people ran for president. They did not. The fact they expressed intentions, which were not realized. But yes, I am pushing as hard as possible for Raila to be sworn in on January 30th. And I said here last week, and I'm not withdrawing. This is beyond Raila Odinga. This is not about him. This is about Kenyans and the principles of electoral justice, and the fact that the people are sovereign and they have the ultimate right to elect leaders of their choice. When an election is botched, when an election is rigged, when an election is stolen in broad daylight as it was on August 8, we have a duty, a positive duty, to reverse the egregious injustice that were done on August 8 and to install the leaders that the Kenyans elected. That's what I'm doing. So I have no apologies to make. Raila must be sworn in. That's what I said. If he's not sworn in, he will face the wrath of the Kenyan people.
All right.
So he must be prepared for that. There is no issue about that. Kenyans, more than 70% of Kenyans are saying he must be sworn in. Kenyans that voted for him. Kenyans that died when they went to welcome him from the airport, not because they committed any crimes. The ones who were maimed, no, let me finish. because I'm in the headline, so I must be able to explain this. Kenyans that were maimed, Kenyans that were maimed and injured, Kenyans that did not vote on October 26th deserve justice. And Raila Odinga cannot abandon them now because of some principles who have either been reached or who are thinking of 2022. We are not going to move on from August 8th, 2017.
All right, let's hear from Senator Aaron Cheriot. Then we have this particular swearing in, then what?
That's the one question, Dibal, that NASA people will never be able to give you an answer, because it's a whole facade. You know, I've said NASA people. Miguna, you were so clear to us last week that you are not a member of NASA.
I mean, NRM,
you said
pushing for the
NRM.
Yes.
So, you know, Dibal, we have good friends in NASA. People that we speak to, they are colleagues in parliament, and you get a whole sense of feeling of what is happening in that camp every time that you listen to them, up to and including not just ordinary members of parliament, but up to and including some of their principles. And the thing that they keep on sharing with you is that the problem that we have within our house, which is the NASA family, is that we have a camp that is divided between those who are pragmatic and those who are still suffering from political hallucinations, imagining things that are not practically or humanly possible. Because when you tell Raila Odinga that we want to swear you in on 30th of January, then what happens? That's a question that we keep on asking him. You report to which state house? You control which state power? You appoint who to serve where? You know, because that is what the office of a president is. You influence which policy. There are people who are telling him, let us be sincere and practical as we can be. There are things that we can achieve because there are sensible demands that NASA are placing on the table. When you listen to them, the things that they are pushing, some of the changes, there's a language that they speak that even there are people, some of us who are in Jubilee, and they're saying, now that is a point that we are willing to discuss, you know. But the bigger problem and the bigger issue that keeps on facing the nation is that Raila Odinga should not allow himself to be reduced to the level that the likes of Miguna want to reduce him to. He's a statesman. He's somebody who has made his contribution. Let the likes of Miguna also make their own contribution in their own way. But don't draw the man into an endless pit from which he can never recover from. When you tell him we want to make you president, of which country? We all know very well that we are a country governed by rule of law, and we have a constitution that is so clear, written expressly in simple English, that you all understand that that bit of becoming president is closed for now until 2022. The rest of the things we can discuss, whether they want to speak about the issues that they've been discussing about certain sections of the country being marginalized, that is a discussion we can have. We can say, okay, let's come and reason together. What is it that you want? Is it when you speak about roads, when you speak about connection to the national grid, distribution of resources, distribution of jobs? Let us do an overall audit and see how these things have been distributed across the country. Those are the kind of discussions that we want to engage ourselves in, but not this tunnel that we know is being pushed. What an unholy alliance. When you see you being put on the headlines with the like of Wanjigi, who everybody know their history in this country and what they have been able to perpetrate in this nation. These are people, entrepreneurs who are looking for jobs in a Raila Odinga presidency in terms of work, or even to be employed as PSs and ministers. These are people who are hanging onto his coat. We want to tell Raila Odinga, don't allow these coat hangers to derail your good legacy. Follow the good example that was set by former Premier Lowassa with our neighbors here down in Tanzania. He went to State House. He hasn't quit his party, but he said there are issues that are pressing to the Tanzanian people that I feel if I was to wait for the next election or pursue certain courses, I may never be able to achieve.
Thank you.
But because you're a fellow leader like me, address the following.
Let's hear from Senator Omatangi.
Thank you, Liba. First, I want to confirm to our viewers this morning, and emphatically so,
yes,
that politics is either not meant and was not intended to be that petty. I mean, it cannot. Politics is not a game of nonsense. It's really about leadership, and we need to make this very clear, because now where we have gotten in a debate like this runs the big risk of saying to Kenyans that you can go and queue hours on end to elect people to come and lead you and show political direction, and then essentially what you're doing is putting petty-minded people in office to come and take you around in circles every morning with a debate and talk that is dead in the water for a long, long time. And that we have to say. Because, you know, ask yourself, really, and I want to say this very, very clearly. And let me pose this question to Miguna. When this debate about swearing in started, there were the likes of Orengo every day about swearing in. There were the likes of Wetangula, and others, including Musalia, and all of them. But now, once they have gone past the post, and they know that an election was conducted, and there is a sitting president, and they know the law, and they know what that means, why is it that this story, this talk, this narrative has only been left to a few, like Miguna and the others? And that tells you. And I want to say to Miguna, I want to say to Miguna that his strategy is weak. His strategy is politically dead. You know, trying to seek legitimacy and room and space by continuing to say things that you know are not there and can never be, and will take this country nowhere. I want to say to him, you know, very, very, very clearly that mission aborted a long time ago, and so he'd rather seek a different strategy of remaining politically relevant if he wants to be, and that would be partly by contributing towards what he first sought. I mean, to the betterment of the lives of people of Nairobi. I mean, really address real issues. But this political hula baloo and engaging in a soliloquy that has got no meaning is absolutely, you know, nonsensical, if you ask me. I mean, let's tell this country, once we come to the table, that we are able to talk about policy, talk about leadership, know that people now want to move on. This country is seeking a better day. We want to do things that will help Kenyans. I mean, last week but one, there are issues, Dibal here in these newspapers about parents affording, education, uniform, whether they are going to be charged for change of color, about the buses. We have got issues here about the economy. I mean, why would we be allowing the likes of Miguna to use this platform? Because the worry that they have, and that is why even you see the Star clearly categorizing that rank. And you remember me last week showing and saying to Kenyans that we have 3 categories of political leadership. There are those now that realize once the election is over, they're in leadership, you get to lead. There are those in the middle here who are wannabes and pretenders, and they want to keep on hurling the wrong wind around. And cheating the masses, that they still make sense, but they don't. They do not. And so I want to ask my friend here and his fellows, you know, ease out and accept where you are, and let's drive the country forward.
All right, let's hear from Jacomedio.
Well, Dibal, you know, I think we are consuming airtime. We are wasting airtime.
Absolutely.
What this topic we delved on it a lot last week. The issue of swearing in or not swearing in is just a symptom. This country has problems, and the problems are big. And what I want to appeal to all and sundry is that it doesn't matter how much you talk about it. It will only matter when we begin to talk about solutions. You do have half of the country, and I did say here last week, that say they don't want to be to respond to the authority that is the constitutional one. You do know factually that elections, and I saw it on CNN 2 days ago, that the elections were shambolic. Those facts, we can't move on. We are saying, let us talk about it. How do we move on as a country? And a country moves on better when there's legitimacy in leadership. As it were, half the country don't legitimately think that there is a legitimate government in the country. That is a fact. How do we deal with it as leaders? Instead of, Wamatangi, since he started sitting around me, he has learned good English. He has now used the English word soliloquy. It's a little cue, whatever it is. But it means he can teach me, but I know the meaning. The meaning is that you talk and yell when nobody else is listening. So why are we talking as if nobody is interested in listening? Wamatangi and my good Senator Cheriot, they should be talking about why is there no cabinet in the country? Why is it difficult to constitute one? It tells us about ourselves. We are in a situation as though it is Uhuru Kenyatta's first time to be in presidency. He took it, he grabbed it, he is the president, but he's acting like a new president. In other words, the terms of the office, the rules of the game have changed. And how I wish leadership in this country and all, both NASA and Jubilee, could sit down and say, okay, we are in this hole. Where is the rope to reel us out of the hole? And that is how I think this country will move forward. We must talk about electoral justice. We must talk about, on top of everything else, we must talk about police reforms. Big. We are in a country where police were killed, police have killed since 2007.
Yes.
And there is no therapy offered to the police. You keep blaming them, and then the rules, nobody cares about them. If you talk to ordinary policemen, they will tell you, what do you want us to do? What the state is not even saying, when you see those riots on the streets, even the police are killed.
Thank you.
So we need to take the debate to the next level. I think this one, we have been here, we have done this. We need to go to the next level as a country.
But the developments with the debate as well is that, 30th is nearing and no one is rowing back. And of course, they have also their own times as well. So we cannot also bury our heads in the sand. It is there. Let's hear from Haman Manyora as well, briefly.
I think...
good morning.
Morning to you.
Today you slept,
late.
Yeah, you slept.
I woke up too early and I thought I had so much time. Well, after Jacob Midio has spoken, I almost have nothing to say because he's just gotten it right. This country is in a problem and we must not run away from that. And when we talk about talks, the worst form of talks we can have are talks that will be held when the NASA leadership is operating from a position of surrender. Because if you are going to talk about these other things and that elections can then be held in 2022, the NASA leadership can only take place in those kind of talks if they have surrendered. Now, I'm calling surrender because this country, if we were to talk about what is the problem really, the problem is about what happened in 2017. If we choose to ignore that and move as if nothing has happened, we are digging a big hole for ourselves, like Jacob Midi was saying, and we will not get out of it. So I'm saying I think people need to talk about how can we have credible elections. And let's not tie ourselves to 2022. How can we have credible elections? What will need to be done? What lessons have we learned that may inform any constitutional changes we need to make so that we have credible elections, whether in 2022, but preferably that should not be the limiting factor. We can say we are going to look at how we have credible elections because we didn't have elections in 2017. Then we will leave it open as to when those elections will take place. And I would only then urge the NASA side to appreciate the fact, which I made last week, which my friend Miguna didn't like, that the fact that Uhuru is in office, let's deal with that. But let's now move towards credible elections and not tied to 2020.
All right.
If we ignore the problem that Midio is talking about, the problems that we have, we are deluding ourselves, and we could get into a mess from which many countries have not come out.
All right.
I'm going to give a robust response to, because my name was mentioned by Wamatangi and Senator Cheriot. But first of all, let me tell you this. In Israel, in Italy, and in many other countries where governments are not won on majorities, elections are held even 5 times in 5 years. So in some countries, elections are held every year. Democracy is so important, is so central to modern civilization that it shouldn't matter whether you hold them every year or you hold them after every 2 years. So let us not think that once you've had some exercise, you must wait for 5 years. And for a political scientist like Mr. Manyora, he must know that. So let him not talk about 2022, let him not talk about, oh, Uhuru is in office. 2, if swearing in was not important, and it was just a waste of time, it was nonsense, it would not be in the headlines, the media would not be talking about it, we would not be talking about it. If Miguna was just some irritant, my colleagues would not be talking about me, but they are, which means that they are denying the obvious. Jean-Marie Sorone used to say that you don't substantiate the obvious. Now, what makes a legitimate president? It is not State House. They have said, oh, where will Raila work from? You don't need to work from State House to be a president. You could work from Turkana. You can work from Malindi. You can work from Lamu. You can work from Kisumu. There is nothing that says in the Constitution or in the practice of power that you must sit in Nairobi at a place called State House. It's just a building. It can actually be pulled down and it will not change anything. It's not the sword that Uhuru was given by the military. That's not what power is. It's not the trumpets. It's not the limousine. It's not the guns. Legitimacy comes from the people through a credible, verifiable, democratic vote. Now, Ouattara, the current president of Cote d'Ivoire, in 2009, he was declared to have won the presidency. Then the president, then Gbagbo, took the matter to the Constitutional Court, which is the equivalent of the Supreme Court. The Constitutional Court nullified Ouattara's so-called victory. Did Ouattara accept it? No, he did not. He challenged it physically. He brought his supporters on the streets. They actually claimed their presidency. He was sworn in. What happened after that? He's the president right now. Gbagbo is at the ICC. Just because, and you know, Gbagbo had been sworn in. He made himself sworn in. And he was the incumbent. He had been in power. But did the Cote d'Ivoirians, the Ivorians, accept it? No, they did not. And what happened? The president that refused to leave power is now serving jail at the ICC. How about Zimbabwe? In 2008, Changarai won the election. The Electoral Commission announced that he had won. Did Mugabe accept it? No, he did not. Did Changarai accept the situation? No, he did not. What happened afterwards? Negotiations happened and they formed a coalition government. But the fact of the matter is that victory is not just because you've been announced by the Electoral Commission.
Thank you.
And power is not just the instruments that people see. So what I'm saying is this. This time, whether my friends call me names or not, because to tell you the truth, if I wanted relevance, if I wanted power, if I wanted money, I would join them. They are the ones with the instruments of power. They are the ones with money. So that shows that I stand on principle. This time I'm not moving. The principles of justice are so important, and Raila Odinga is not going to renege on it. We are not going to allow him.